I'll give you an introduction to our brand. And I think it's fair to say that even if we are not one of the biggest brands in the world by size, even if we have actually grown a lot the last years, we have a very, very big place in people's hearts. And if we look a little bit ahead on what Maserati is all about, Maserati is all about three things. It's about performance, comfort, and style. So words are not really enough to describe it. So now I'm trying to, as the chef will do, to describe the components of Maserati is. So it's not going to be very sexy because the experience is obviously when you're in the car. But we are 100% dedicated to what we call Gran Turismo and the Gran Turismo philosophy. And the Gran Turismo philosophy, or Gran Touring, was originated in Italy prior to the war, and it is Maserati that was really pioneering this one. And we have stayed true to this ever since. I want to start with the three components, and I will go through the first one, which is performance. So I think all of you, if I say Maserati, would have some kind of idea that it's something about powerful cars that drive really fast. And that is also a vital part of our DNA. It started actually with Alfieri Maserati himself winning the Targa Florio back in 26, sorry, in the rough mountains of Italy. So racing is still a very important component when you want to cook a Maserati. The second one is about comfort. So we produce very sporty cars, but we also produce sedans and SUVs. And if you should say that there's a common theme around them, they are all very spacious. They're spacious enough to room 4 people or more, and that makes our cars regular Grand Tourers. And then, of course, the craftsmanship and the obsession to detail is also a vital part of our brand. The last one is about design. So we have been working with the best Italian designers always, Pininfarina, Giugiaro, and today our Centostile is the epicenter of Italian design. So Gran Turismo is actually not really about these things seen in isolation. It's what happens when you bring all these together. And if you get into any of our cars, you will experience that you're presented with an inspirational and empowering ability to travel long distances at very high speed in perfect comfort and bold Italian style. And that is basically what Gran Turismo stands for. But I think action speaks better than words. So let me just, while you're digesting all the risotto and whatever you had, just show you 2 minutes so we're on the same page. if you haven't had the chance to be in one recently, hopefully this gives a flavor. So we're speaking about not just one car, about a range of cars, all of them spacious enough, as I said before, to live up to the Gran Turismo philosophy, traveling long distances at a high speed in ultimate comfort with bold Italian style. And I think we more or less live up to that. So what about China? So we are a completely global brand. And China is where I would say that car buyers and being in the business of cars is more or less the same wherever you go in the world. I would say China is an exception. And it has to do with a number of things. First of all, our clients in China are way younger. We are here 35 years in average. That's about 20 years younger than the rest of the world. And that means that the techniques we are using, I mean, I'm doing global marketing, so I like when one size fits, but China doesn't fit always. Now, that is a challenge, but it's also a great opportunity. Because at the same time, if we look at China, there are three things that make Maserati interesting. They are explorative in China. Our customers, they want to try new things. They want to break conventions. They are very self-conscious and impulsive, and they do what they want without hesitation. Then they have an upcoming aristocracy. So with financial strength, they quickly want to pursue elegant and aristocratic lifestyle. They are interested generally in photography, design, and they're high on average on keeping fit, which probably leads to the last one, which is very expressive. Desire to stay ahead of trends, be outstanding, and celebrating individualism. Focus on self and confident to share themselves. So for a marketing guy like me, this means perfect playground. It means that if I should try something different, I would start in China. And this is actually what we did. So I will give you a little bit of a take on what has happened in the last years with us in China. And I dare say that you will ask me, okay, experimenting, but is it working? I'll say that from being very low in sales, China is now our biggest region. So there's nowhere in the world we sell more Maseratis than in China. And that's completely different from a few years ago. So what has happened? So first of all, e-commerce in China, where in many other markets, for a marketing guy like me, it is a channel that needs to apply certain standards. In China, the e-commerce is really part of life. And that means that when you talk about channels, as we do often, we talk about media, then I would say, if we speak about China, then the media is the channel, and that is also the lifestyle. So we find everything within the realms of e-commerce. And if you look at it, it's not even digital, it is also mobile. This is a trend that is also coming in the other regions, but it's coming at a way slower pace. It is bigger now in certain of our markets, but again, China is at the forefront. Why we have chosen to really be explorative in China has also to do with the fact that the explosive growth ratios, so the penetration of retail sales, even if it's high now, the curve is particularly more interesting than the peer markets. So this is why we need to look particularly at this and be the best. So one of our main partners, Alibaba, now not a lot of you have a Maserati, but of course we would like to see that some of you have one. So it is also about finding out where can we find the users, the potential users. So if you look at Alibaba, we can get in contact with 500 million mobile monthly users. And by the way, 41% of those are also daily users. That means a huge amount of people. And if you have just sniffed a little bit to the world of marketing and mass communication, finding that many people with strong affinity to our brand is impossible to buy for normal money if you want to go through the normal channels. Another interesting thing is that it's in high growth. And another thing is that it's not small time spans we're seeing here. 24 minutes and more, if we look at the daily time spent, is actually, I think, competing with what most people use to read a newspaper these days. So it is something that is definitely part of life, and this is why it gets so interesting to do it exactly there. So the Double 11 Shopping Festival is probably something that you have heard about. It started in 2009, and it's been it is probably the world's biggest online shopping event now. And also for the automotive business, where people are still arguing in the Western world if you can ever sell a car online. Some people try, maybe they sell one or two. And it remains to be a nice idea, but not really proving itself in terms of revenues. The two largest e-commerce platforms, Autohome and BitAuto, they had more than 600,000 vehicle pre-orders, which is significant. It's actually enormous. So the barrier between what can be bought in a physical world and what can also now be bought on e-commerce, those barriers are very, very converging when we speak about China. So what has happened with us and Tmall has been that we have actually entered a complete partnership. It's whatever we do, I would dare say, whatever we do together with them as well. So if we launch a car, we will do it with the help of them. If we do auto shows, we will make sure that they play part in our auto shows. If we do shopping festival, Double 11, they are part of it with something particular and playful. Even used car auctions is something we do with Tmall. And of course, if we want to do anything that has to do with special editions, then we will also look at Tmall. Because it is both the channel and it is the customer group at the same time. So things are coming together. So what happens there? So we have a Tmall store where you can actually do one-stop shopping if you want to buy a Maserati, which is pretty unconventional in any other market. So you can order your new car. You can also get the financing scheme. You can buy after-sales, accessories, and warranties. You can also be inspired by seeing test drives, what other people do with the car. You can see all that on our store, in our store. And we sell our merchandising items. We have about 140, so we are selling them also. So it's an integrated part of the mall. And what happens when we do that? The thing we did when we launched the Levante, which is our SUV, was that we actually didn't really know what was going to happen. But in the end, we sold 100 of these cars in 18 seconds. That is unparalleled anywhere else in the world. It is not doable. But in China, it happened. And it happened because it was hyped, it was promoted, everything within the Tmall environment. And when it popped, there was enough suspense to make an incredible reaction very, very fast. Now, 100 cars, it's a Maserati, okay? So it's something that doesn't come for free. So the fact that people were sitting there and just doing that, it is something that makes you think as a global marketeer. Now, would I ever do that in Germany? No. No, it wouldn't happen. But there it does. And we need to be where people are, and we need to follow whatever patterns and behavioral changes that they have. So it's a very great playground, as I said in the beginning. What is interesting if you work with a luxury brand like Maserati is, of course, not to fall into the trap of discounting and making big, bold promotions and selling yourself short. But none of these 100 cars were sold with any economical benefit, except the fact that you could get priority delivery. So what is it you need to experience online? You need to experience something that is a little bit better, or a little bit faster, or a little bit cheaper. For a luxury brand like Maserati, here we chose get it a little bit faster, and it seemed to work. Now for last year, we had actually gone even further. We made a special series of the Levante together with Tmall. So what you see here on the screen, the limited edition, is actually a plate that is in the car. So we had 111 limited, and 11 of them were with an exclusive leasing offer, and they were sold in 24 seconds. So the whole thing here is that when the channel is also a lifestyle and is also a loved brand, then you're actually, even if you're a luxury brand, able to make a brand partnership. This is not likely to happen anywhere else in the world. You can also see that the promotion, so we spoke about the reach. The promotion for the Double 11 Festival was also something that is a little bit daring. If you're a luxury brand, we actually went in and played, as you can see, with our instrument clusters and gave it the ears of the logo of Tmall. But bringing us together. Again, our partner is a respected and loved brand, which is also embodied in a lifestyle. So we thought that can happen. We can do it. We don't need to stay reserved because we are luxury, but we can partner up with somebody who has the reach and who has the power to penetrate 500 million people within a month. Now, what happens if you partner up with companies like Tmall is that you also get accessibility to a huge amount of data. So what we're going to do now is look into how to become even more refined. The customer profiling can give us a chance in that database to find people that look like the Maserati owners we already have in our database. That means we can make more efficient targeting. That's what we would call lookalike. But also precision targeting. That is using the tags and online shopping behaviors to send customized brand messages and offers to prospects who act alike. So people who act in a certain way, they have affinity to Maserati, we will copy those and we will search for them in the Tmall database. And then because loyalty and loyalty programs and member get member is a huge thing on Tmall, we will absolutely try to go in there and see, okay, maybe this old member get member, if it gets a different flavor, is something that even a brand like Maserati can use going forward. It doesn't end here. I'll show you something that, again, in the Western world would look absolutely weird, but just to show you how far they actually are. Had any of you heard about this before? Yeah. It is, I mean, you have to imagine, I mean, my business is for the last 100 years built out on a very strong dealer body. It's all about car dealers. We all know car dealers, right? There's something going on here that we need to make a very strategic decision on if we want to bandwagon and join this one, and how we want to do it in case we do it, because in reality it's all about the how. If you're a marketer, you have to be where the customers are. And if the customers are here, and if this is what they do, if this is what excites them to make the next step, then we have to be there. But the cracking the code is all about the how. So what do we think we have learned so far? We are still learning, by the way. We're learning a lot. Thank God, our customers, they're trendy customers and they're open to go new ways. That is kind of the prerequisite number one if you want to start experimenting. But they are younger, they are self-assertive, they're keen on trying new things and staying ahead of trends. And this allows us with an enormous opportunity if we dare to embrace it and actually play with our prospects and customers instead of sticking to the realms of the old luxury business. Second thing is that China is e-commerce by excellence, and it's an integrated part of people's lives. So there's no way to deny it. It's the way it is. And that's because of the reach of internet and smart devices. You can say that e-commerce occupies a more and more indispensable position in people's daily life. Life is spent online. Life is e-commerce. The third one is that the more you tend to play in the realms of luxury goods, you need to also take a little bit care, as I said before. So it's all about keeping the high standards. So when doing the partnerships, there has to be a mutual, very big respect for the brands that we are playing with. In the end, our partners are not interested in discounting our products or anybody else's, but we need to crack the code on how to deliver a superior experience to the customers, not linked to discounts, which is maybe one of the biggest challenges and limitations. Of course, you can sell anything online if it's cheap enough. So the trick is how to make the experience as exciting so it will happen automatically. And then just for us, as probably as for anybody else who wants to deal in China, I mean, one thing is that the competitors are moving, but also the ever-changing digital environment means that we cannot just plan yearly anymore. I mean, we need to look at quarterly plans, and we need to have constant discussions with our core partners on how the wind is blowing and where they're going. So these were my first, no, this was my speech. Sorry, I don't have much more time, but I do have a little bit of time if people have questions.
Yeah. If we did, let me ask one before we get to it. We do have a little bit of time here. Clearly, Chinese are ready to buy cars online, which to an American originally still sounds kind of crazy. Mm-hmm. But do you think, two questions. One, do you think that that trend will come here? Will we see people in France or UK or America buying cars on websites? And how do you still deliver a luxury experience? I mean, do you feel like there's something lacking there when you're dealing with like these the kiosk kind of thing where they can go test drive and they don't interact with anybody? They don't get that cozy dealer experience, that luxury environment. Do you feel like there's something you're not able to deliver there?
No, but this is the challenge. Yeah. I mean, this is how to translate a premium experience into something that is not driven by people's interaction. Yeah. So the experience, that's the core of everything. Yeah. It is, if you want to change something from, and I mean, I said, we don't have a choice because that's where the market is going. It's like being a super luxury good and you don't want to have a shop in Milano. I mean, you don't do that. I mean, you want to be where people are. That's point number one. But the how is the one that demands out-of-the-box thinking and not entering into the standardized approach, not entering into something that will diminish your brand. And this is one of the ongoing conversations we have around this, because for Maserati as a luxury good, we need to ensure that always demand is bigger than supply, because that's the core of being in luxury. So we cannot just push things out there. Mm-hmm. That's genetically wrong if you're a luxury good. So the whole creative process is about how to make sure that the messaging and the experience, I call it the experience design, that is able to be translated in an online behavior and design. Mm-hmm. That's how the thinking should be, because we cannot get people away from this. So people are there, mm-hmm. So it's the how. It's how you do it.
Okay. And then to the other side of it, to Laura's theme about global inspiration, is what's happening in China the future for the rest of the world?
No, I mean, I think it will take a long time before you get Germans to buy a car in a vending machine. But it is, what you do when you do marketing, you always do pilots. And then you find out which of the things we learned there can be adapted, possibly in a little bit different way that is more ready for the maturity of the individual market. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it's applicable some places, but not everywhere. And then again, you need to be on a bandwagon of users. Mm-hmm. You cannot start a vending machine yourself around the corner, but if it is hyped and everybody's speaking about it, and all our customers would love to have this experience. I mean, that's what we do research for. Then we have to make up our minds. Is this something we dare to do or not? We have not made our mind up about this yet,
Yeah.
but it's going to happen during next year. So
maybe not Germany, but maybe Japan or Korea.
sure. It's
Yeah.
all a question of market maturity. That's
Yeah.
how I work with my markets when we do the sharing of our best practices or new ideas. It is to say, okay, do we want a sanity check, or how would this, if this is China, how would that work given your target audience in Japan, for example, which is slightly different? How would that work? Where are we there? What can we adapt of this? Maybe not 100% identical solution, but other learnings here that we can bring in to the other markets as well.
Okay. I think we do have questions. Let's
Yes.
open it. There we go. One minute to go.
I was wondering, are you nervous at all about having Tmall control more and more of your marketing funnel? And what do you think of brands, other high-end brands like Coach, which chose to get out of Tmall and switch to WeChat or other channels?
Well, I think it's about partnerships in general. You're giving a little bit of yourself away when you do it. It's not the only thing we do. We actually also have real dealers in China. So this is, it was the theme of today to speak about what's happening on e-commerce. It's not our full reality. But of course, we tend to, I would say that our relationship, without hopefully being shot in the foot, that our relationship with Tmall is interesting also for them, because we are probably the most progressive of the luxury brands out there that are willing to do these things. And again, cracking the how. It's all about the how. And I think they're using our case story also.
Okay, we have a question here. If we can bring the mic down. One of our speakers from yesterday.
Yeah.
Hello. You spoke about the dealer relationship. It's a bit tricky always in China with luxury cars. And when it comes to your digital strategy, how's your relationship with your dealer in terms of, do you dictate the content direction, or do they have their freedom in terms of a promotion, in terms of a localized approach? Because they want to sell cars, obviously.
So without going into very specific details, we are pretty close now to having a good global governance about how Maserati should be treated in a program we call Best in Class, which is something that every dealer that is coming in to our group has to apply to. Generally, I think the discussion about physical dealers versus what we do online is as old as online itself, because do they feel that it's promoting the brand, and will they get their fair share of it, or do they feel it's a threat? Generally, I think we are over that. I think we have come pretty far, and without going into details about dealer policies, they also get a benefit if we sell something online.
Another question? Up there? Yeah? This side of the room is totally winning. You're asking all the questions.
I'm feeling I'm weighing.
C'est à bâbord qu'on crie le plus fort. Thank you, very inspiring presentation. I think it's very innovative what you've been doing in car distribution. My question is also on the Tmall deal. Yeah, if I read correctly, you said you were bringing the existing customers of Maserati to the deal. And if I understood correctly, did you ask them or inform them about this? How did it go in terms of their knowing about this?
No, maybe I expressed that wrongly. No, it's not that we are sending people to Tmall. We are using Tmall as a channel to identify new customers. I mean, historically, our customers they have come out of the analog world. They went to a dealership, they bought a car, and all that. They are what I would like, and hopefully, to call our ambassador group. But Maserati has changed a lot. So we sold maybe 6,000 cars 5 years ago, and now we sell 50,000. So it's an enormous growth, and that means if I need to balance my supply and demand task, which is fundamental for luxury, as I said before, I need to find new customers. I need to come out there. So when a partner can offer me a playground with 500 million individuals. I know they're not all going to buy a Maserati, thank God, because we couldn't make them. But to find these and do it in a playful and interesting way to make people talk and share, that is how we will find the new customers probably easiest.
Okay, one more question. We have one? Right here.
Hello. I would like to know if you have some strategy regarding the second and tier cities for Maserati.
Yeah. So
Or you're focusing more on Beijing, Shanghai, and Guangzhou?
no. We are no again, but this. We have a department called Network Development that are looking very much into this about where do the right people live and when is there a density that is strong enough to actually make a dealer survive there. And that is following, we are not, we don't have any principles about where it can be and where it cannot be in China. But of course, we have started historically in the classical big cities, but it's expanding. I mean, it's literally expanding. When the right composition of target group is there, then there's also room for a dealership. Again, if I said before, Tmall is one of the things we do, and I kind of like to call it our test kitchen, and it is a valuable channel, especially when it comes to the familiarity of the brand. But of course, most car sales still happen through a dealer.
Okay, I think if there's one more burning question, we could maybe work it out. Oh, well, since you're leading the next session, if you want to delay it a little bit with a question.
Wait a minute. So it looks like you guys have adapted very well in terms of the Chinese marketing strategy, but will this ever extend to your product strategy where you actually start designing Maseratis specifically for the Chinese consumer?
We actually
their
did one.
specific driving habits.
But you know what? The Tmall edition that we did is actually a model that we developed together with Tmall, and you cannot buy it anywhere else. It is, you know, when you make a car, I mean, it's a dreadful and painful process, so I will not bore you with that. It takes a number of years, it costs at least $1 billion, so it's a very expensive thing. And then you have all the regulations, so you cannot that easily change the shape of a car. Or you cannot go in and say, I will make a car only for you, because then you have homologation problems. But what we can do is that we can make a specific configuration of the car that is only sold through this channel. And that was what we tried out last year. So the Tmall edition was a little bit cheaper than the other Maseratis, but not because we discounted it, but because we decontented it, which is different. Decontenting means that there were certain things that were in the more expensive one, but in the Tmall edition, it was a slightly more basic version. So it is happening within the extremely difficult regulations of automotive.
Okay, Jacob, thank you very much.